Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Franco, and today in the Homestead, it's a beautiful sunny day out. It's about 40 degrees with a little bit of wind, and I want to take care of my dump trailer project and finally get it road ready. So let me pull the trailer out and I'll show you guys what has to be done. Alright guys, so here's my 10,000 pound dump trailer. This trailer is a Harvey trailer. It's manufactured in Bangor, Maine. I'm not sure if the company's still in business, but I went with this trailer even though it is 20 years old because it is so overbuilt, and that's exactly what I want. Some of the newer trailers today I looked at, and the thickness of the bed is just not as thick as this one here. The floor on this bed is 1/8 plate, okay? So that's 8 gauge, and then the walls are 10 gauge, 100 thousandths thick. So I did look at newer trailers, and they don't even offer that type of thickness when it comes to the 10,000 pound range of trailers. This is a 6x10 bed. It has a 36-inch hydraulic cylinder. So that is an upgrade compared to like the standard 30-inch that you would find on this type of trailer. So the newer models, I was looking at Downeaster and Brymac and, you know, what's the other one? Sure-trac. The walls aren't as thick as you think, and as well as the floor, the same thing. They usually end up rotting out because people leave them sitting flat and water builds up in them. That's the reason why you see mine propped up like this. I'm not going to let that happen to my own trailer. It always sits just like the way you see it, with a 4x4 underneath it, making sure that the bed drains. The frame is a 5-inch C-channel, super heavy duty. The tongue is the same thing, 5 inches. And the axles are 5,200 pound Dexter Easy Lube axles. These are some of the best axles you can buy even today. So 20 years ago they put this on the trailer and they knew what they were doing. So I'll just give you guys a quick shot of the chassis. It has stake pockets, and then I'll go off to the back here. So I'm not sure if you can see this, but this latch, it actually broke off because I tried to adjust it with a pipe in order to adjust the height of it when it falls into the latch here. What was happening is that when I tried to fasten the gate with this latch, vibration would actually walk this latch out of the slot, and it was just really unsafe. So that's why I tried to bend it up and try to position that in a better location, and it just didn't work. You always have to have a safety, and I want to make sure that this works properly. So as I make my way around here, you can see that you don't have your typical setup here with a box with a pump in it. I just don't know why they went this route and why they couldn't just mount a box to here to begin with. But underneath here, you'll see it later maybe, is the pump in a hydraulic motor, hydraulic tank. Okay, I covered everything, that way the snow would just not build up on it and just, you know, eat away at the wires and hoses. Battery is mounted outboard here. So one really good thing I liked about this trailer when I first saw it was that it has a heavy duty trailer jack on it. This is a 10,000 pound trailer jack. You could have this thing fully loaded and you can lift the whole load with this trailer jack. Originally, you would have something mounted here on the tongue. So I really like that jack. I really like the whole construction of the trailer. That's the reason why I bought it, and I bought a 20-year-old trailer versus something that's brand new. You know, even the brand new ones, they're pretty good. You know, you have better paint on them and things like that, but it's just the steel is not the same. I mean, this thing is so robust and so heavy duty, and it's got the proper axles on it. Another reason why I went with this used trailer over new one is that the new ones don't have the same height for the bed. This is a full 24 inches on the inside, okay? The new ones you find, you know, they're like 14, 18, 20. They never go to a full 24 inches until you get into like the heavy duty commercial grade stuff where you need to, you know, have a much bigger truck to pull it. So when I bought this trailer, I knew that it being 20 years old, it would need brand new tires. So I purchased it with that in mind. I have a set of 4 new tires and rims, and I bought an extra spare tire and rim as well because it did not come with this trailer. I did get a great deal on this because of this reason, it being 20 years old, still a heavy duty, you know, model, but the tires were completely shot. I'm surprised I was able to ride home with these tires and not have a blowout. If you look on the tire up close, you can see dry rot on the sidewall and in the tread. So I was a little scared at first just taking this thing home. It looked completely unsafe. So also I have to wire back in the running lights that I took off because they were shot. They just, the bulb sockets were wearing out and pretty much some of the bulbs just weren't illuminating. So I already took them off the trailer. That's why you don't see them on here. They were on each corner of the frame, okay? And you'll see me in just a moment installing those and wiring them back up. All right, so that's the overview of the trailer. I think I covered all the essentials when it comes to what the trailer is and what needs to be done today. So let me get started jacking this thing up and removing the wheels. That way I can get those brand new wheels and tires on there and it's gonna look sharp. So now the wheels are off and pretty much I went ahead and took care of all these threads and cleaned them up with a stainless steel wire brush. I got rid of all the junk here. I might actually chase it with a die to make sure that none of the threads are screwed up and just to rejuvenate some of the thread. That's something I want to do before I finalize this. But since I have everything apart now, I have everything cleaned up here. I'm actually going to hit it with some spray paint, that epoxy paint I was talking about, and I'm going to do the same thing on the hubs. Clean this all up with acetone. Actually, I might use alcohol in this case to clean everything up. Okay, I removed the covers for the grease nipples here, if you can see that. I have replacement covers, brand new ones that aren't ripped. This lip right here is very sharp on the inside, so be careful if you're taking out that grease. I cut my finger just a little bit, but I'm just giving you guys a heads up. So the interesting thing about these Dexter Easy Lube axles is that this grease nipple here feeds grease all the way to the back of the bearing first. And then as you pack it with grease, it actually goes down the center and then back through the bearings on the outside of the shaft. That way it does a full repack on the hub. As you feed grease in there, you're going to see grease coming out the side here on the periphery. That's meant by design, and I just went ahead and removed the 20 years of grease that was stuck in here because I popped that cover off and it was nothing but grease. You couldn't even see the grease nipple. But anyways, I'm going to replace it with brand new covers after I paint the hub. I'm also going to touch up some of the leaf springs as well as some of the spots on the frame that need some attention. That way, since I have everything apart now, I might as well just go ahead and take care of everything at once. That way I don't have to worry about this for a while. So now that they're installed, let's check them out and see how they work. So now this should be really good, because now as I drive down the road, I won't have the potential of this thing just clanging up against the top of the frame, making a whole bunch of noise, and now I can have a nice quiet ride. So even though I bought the same exact lighting fixture here from the same manufacturer and part number, the new generation, I guess, of these light fixtures have a different layout on the inside when it comes to the contacts and where the wire lead comes out. So I want it to come out as close as possible to the wiring, so I have to drill a hole if I have to, and then insert it in. That way I can have it now in that new position right on center, and the lead is much closer to the other end on the inside here. That way I don't have any issues and it feeds right through. So now it's time to fix the gate latch, and also I want to fix the kickstand. It seems to be seized up somehow. I went to go move it and it actually cracked the weld here. So I'm going to have to clean this up and re-weld this. And then I also noticed that this thing looks like to be welded on either side. Alright guys, so after a bunch of hammering and separating the two halves, I got this thing to break loose and I shot some liquid wrench in there, and now it rotates freely. It was welded on either side. I had to cut off just a little bit from each end. That way I could break loose the pin and that way it would rotate. So now that it's nice and lubricated and it's running freely, I went ahead and pinched these back down. So also I added some 5/8 heater hose to the bottom of this pipe here. As you can see, I attached it with some stainless steel safety wire, and that way it provides some cushion as this pipe rests on that mount. And as I'm going down the road, it's not going to make a whole bunch of noise, and I have a nice quiet trailer. Alright, so now that that's out of the way, now it's time to start prepping the surfaces for weld. Alright, so I got everything prepped. I knocked out the radius on the inside here. That way, this latch pin will not walk out now. It's going to fully retain itself in this kind of 90-degree angle that I created within the pin. All this was a bent piece of steel rod, and what was happening was, with vibration and just the weight of the tailgate here, it would actually walk its way out. It would actually start lifting its way up out of this slot, and it just wasn't safe. I didn't feel comfortable with it. So because of this 90-degree corner here that I cut into this pin now, when this falls through this slot, there's no way of it backing out, because now it has to overcome the whole height of this pin in order to get out. And the only way to do that is to rotate this upwards. So I'm just going to weld that back in place just like that. So now this has the proper engagement, and I feel much safer about that. So one thing I also did on this pin was bend it inward just a little bit so it has more of a J shape. That way it would retain this slot better. Before it was kind of bent outwards, and like I said, it had that radius in there, which made it kind of walk up just like this as the tailgate would move outwards, and it just did not feel safe because it would literally be resting on the bottom end of this pin. So now it's time to get out the welder. I'm going to weld this thing up, and then I will also weld up that kickstand. Alright guys, so we're back here a week later in the workshop. Last week after I finished putting the wheels on the trailer, I noticed that there was some leaking on the bottom of the pump unit. So then upon closer inspection, I looked at the tank and I realized that it was actually bleeding from the very bottom. It rusted out right in the center here. And this is the tank right here, so you can take a look at it for yourself. What happens when you leave these things out, exposed to the elements, and when snow and rain builds up on it. The bottom seam here is all pitted, and this metal is like pretty much almost eaten through. There's large pits, and it was bleeding right from this area right here. So I ordered myself a brand new tank. I took everything apart, cleaned everything up. I gave everything a brand new coat of paint, including the tank, so now it has 2 coats of paint on there. That way, it just has a little extra protection. And also, I went ahead and bought a brand new controller because The original one was really beat up and it was giving me problems. The switches weren't working at times. So I replaced it with a brand new controller. And I also wired in a trailer lead here. That way I can disconnect and connect this, because I actually added an upgrade on this motor, and that is a wireless controller. So I mounted the wireless controller up here, and it came with 2 transmitters. You have this nice little, key fob. Okay, this is a winch controller, but it works the same way for this type of application. This is nice because it has a lockout to prevent you from pressing on the buttons. And this one right here is more like a garage door opener. It has a lockout switch here, so you power it on, and then you have your up and down. I'm going to put labels here over the in and out and replace it with obviously up and down, but you get the idea. This is perfect for this application. That way I can be in the truck and have the option of dumping the trailer from inside the truck. And also you have the flexibility of just walking around the trailer and not having a cord attached to the system. So I'm gonna have this as backup in the truck, and then this right here will just be tucked away just like you see it here. And when I need to use it, I just pull it out and I can just connect it to the remote. So let's take a quick look at the motor and all its components. So you have here the wireless controller that I added. Everything is wired in parallel, that way it operates simultaneously with the wired controller. I went ahead and neatened everything up, put wire loom on everything. This right here is your antenna, this blue wire. So this right here is a contactor solenoid. This energizes the motor to activate the pump to lift the bed. And this right here is the dump solenoid, which lowers the bed and releases the fluid from the hydraulic cylinder. So this contactor solenoid, I actually replaced it a few months ago because the one that was on the trailer when I bought it was underrated. I think it was a 60 amp contactor solenoid. This is a 100 amp contactor solenoid. What was happening was the original owner replaced it at some point and just replaced it with the wrong one, even though it looks exactly the same. So because this contactor solenoid was underpowered, shortly after I purchased the trailer, it burned out. Okay, so I had to replace it, and that's what that is, and that's why it looks so brand new. I'm really happy with the results in this thing. Everything looks really sharp. It pretty much looks brand new. I cleaned up everything, and I cleaned up all the wire connections and got rid of all the rust and corrosion off things, and really made it look nice. So now all I have to do is fill this up with the hydraulic fluid, and right here I am just sifting out the hydraulic fluid, which is actually ATF fluid, if you don't know, for these types of pump units. It's not your standard hydraulic fluid you would use in a excavator or a skid steer or a tractor. This uses ATF fluid. So right now all I'm doing is filtering out the fluid with this really fine mesh strainer here. There's a lot of surface area, so it does filter out pretty quickly, which is good. So I like to keep a few of these Mobil 1 containers on hand because they're just such a great container. They got a nice wide mouth, and when you need to transfer fluids, these are perfect. I keep them nice and clean. That way, if I ever need to use them, they're ready to go. So I don't see a problem using this old ATF fluid. I just want to make sure that it's filtered because I went through the the effort of buying a new tank, taking everything apart, making sure everything was clean, and this is just the final step. So I'm just going to let that sit and drain. I have another gallon to go through. So here in the tank you have the breather, and then you have the fill port here. So this fill port is good, but the only problem is that I don't have a 9/16 hex drive, okay? So what I had to do is actually make my own adapter. I just took a bolt and I put 2 jam nuts on there like that, and now this fits in there, and if I have to tighten it, all I have to do is tighten down on the top nut with an adjustable wrench, or if I need to loosen it, I back off on the bottom nut, and that will loosen the whole thing. So that works out great. It kind of threw me off because I don't have a 9/16, Allen wrench or hex drive just to loosen and tighten this. I don't know why they wouldn't just put a 3/8 drive for a ratchet on here, but I guess they went with this 9/16 hex. But with that being what it is, let's go put this thing on the trailer and let's get it back in operation. Check out all that dirty particulate that was in the oil. This strainer did a good job at taking out all the contaminants. Otherwise, that would go right in my tank and through my hydraulic system and through the hydraulic pump. Well guys, she's finally done. So now we're gonna try her out and see how she works. So I wired up the hand remote here, which is on a disconnect. So I can take this off and put it in the truck, that way it doesn't get all beat up and turn to crap. So this is an option as a backup, and it's as simple as just operating the switch. So we know that works. And now I can bring it back down. Excellent. So I'm really happy with this. This is gonna be my backup. I normally will not have this attached to the trailer. And like I said, I'm gonna put it in the truck, that way it stays in good condition. So my preferred option of operating the dump trailer is gonna be with either one of these two wireless controllers. First you have this key fob looking controller, which is simple. It has a lockout, that way it prevents you from hitting the buttons. And then you have this handheld, which also has an on-off switch. I just tried these just a few minutes ago, about 100 feet away, and they both work. They both work really good. I can keep them at like waist level and they operate. I don't have to have them up in the air to get better reception. So I'm really happy with these wireless controllers, and it's as simple as turning the thing on and then pressing the up button. So as soon as I let off, the dump trailer stops, and then if I want to come back down, same thing, just press the button down. So now the other controller, same thing. And now back down. Sweet. So I guess we'll start up here. I took care of the trailer jack. I repainted the foot on it, and I also painted this pin yellow. That way I could see it just in case I drop it on the floor or something. The solar charger is permanently mounted to the trailer now. That way I don't have to worry about charging up the battery. It's always going to be ready to go. Here's a closer look at the hydraulic tank, pump, and motor. So I did a lot of touch-up paint here. Eventually I plan on putting a box in here, or making one. I'm not sure yet. I want to house all these components in that box. So I'm going to make some kind of box so I can just put everything inside here, as well as the battery, and remove that that plate that it's sitting on right now, so everything can be nice and tucked in and everything stays dry. So I took care of the kickstand. That now operates as it should. I can use that when I need it. Rubber isolators work great. So the running lights are all set, they work. So now let's take a look at the wheels. They look really sharp. Got chrome lug nuts. They're powder coated black and they got brand new tires on there. So now they're ready to go. All right, so let's take a look at the latch here. I'm really happy with the result. I blended out all the welds. I did full welding all the way around this pin. That way it would not, you know, break or bend or whatever. And I'm really happy with the fitment on it. There's no way of this thing backing out now. Wheels look really nice. I'm really happy with my selection there. Here's the wheels on the other side. Well guys, let me know what you think of the trailer. She's all ready to go. Ready to use. Well guys, that's it for today. I hope you found the trailer project very interesting. I know I sure did. So if you really enjoyed the video, please hit that like button and also hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.